and welcome to San Francisco. I've been going to GDC for the past couple of years, but this year it's been amazing year. We have seen some good turnout, and especially from Pakistan. We all bleed green, so this was something which I was always very passionate about. Games, I've been watching the sector a little bit. We started following games back in 2018 thanks to Babar. At that time, Babar was Mindstorm only, right? There was no lion in the picture at that time. Sare sher baad mein aaye the. Okay, so Babar was very instrumental in getting all the Silicon Valley folks together. We had a few people in Google. Saad was getting started with his company, Revolving Games. And we did a session back in 2018. It was part of our Invest in Pakistan initiative. And I still do remember that day very distinctly because for some reason we were not able to get traction back then. People did not realize, I think startup was the most, the hottest thing around back then. Airlift was getting started. Atif Awan was getting his feet wet in the venture capital world. He had just left LinkedIn. And we all were looking towards startup, but Babar was the one who actually brought all of us together and said, guys, gaming sector is going to be one of the most critical sectors of Pakistan, and it's going to drive the economy at one point in time. So we put together a section for the games, and thank you so much, Babar, for leading that effort and subsequent conversation. I'm going to talk a little bit about Open. I'm not going to talk that much because we are here to listen to some amazing speakers. Open is an organization, it basically stands for Organization of Pakistani Entrepreneurs. It used to be called of North America, but now we have about 12 chapters around the globe. Open charter members have raised, cumulatively, they have raised close to about $3 to $4 billion, and they have had exits in excess of $12 billion. So that got to say a lot about the strength and the integrity of the organization. We are very fortunate that most of these entrepreneurs, they came back and they started giving back to the community. So we can look around, we can look at Raghib. He's one of the highest ranking professionals in the industry. He had an exit for $6 billion. His company KVM got acquired by Marvell. Now he's giving back to the community through upskilling many startups, working with many startups, with many professionals, making sure, and also with women trying to see that they can secure board seats and stuff. So there's a lot of work that goes on in that area too. Open's focus has mostly been in the US, but back in 2018 when we started doing Invest in Pakistan, we quickly realized the potential that was coming out of Pakistan, and that was something that we just couldn't ignore. I remember the first time we did that, we had plus 600 startups apply for our program. And at that time, most of these startups like Bazaar, SafePay, they were raising like $150,000 to $200,000. Imagine if any one of us had invested in them at that point in time. They went on to raise a couple of $100 million, which is really a big accomplishment. Tells a lot about the talent and what is coming out of that, what is coming out of our country. I'm going to shift gears a little bit about the event today. So we have some great speakers. Thank you, Farah. Farah is here with us she flew all the way from Seattle. I would want to say she flew in for our event mostly, but she came in for GDC. We just didn't let her go back. We said, you have to come and speak to all of us. Farah is Senior Vice President for Electronic Arts. She'll be talking about the gaming environment here in the US and where the future is heading. Ali Sheikh is from Reciprocal Ventures, right? And Ali will be talking about Web 3.0. Ali is also big into NFTs, and he manages his own WhatsApp group, couple of hundred people, and I'm not one of them. I'm trying to get into his WhatsApp group, but he wants me to show him what I know about NFT first before he lets me in. Before we start all of that, I'm going to invite first Ali Ihsan to talk a little bit about Pakistan's game, the ecosystem in Pakistan, just for the awareness of those who don't know much about Pakistan's gaming ecosystem, and then we can transition over to Farah, who's going to talk about the future of games in the US. Thanks.
I sincerely apologize for all the Pakistani game studios here. I think you've heard me talk like at least 20 times this year. So, however, what I have to say is a little repetitive because, they haven't heard it. The newer folks, the American folks, right? So we were at GDC last year, right? It's a very expensive event to attend. So we decided to be very Pakistani about it, and we just had like an empty booth. It was black, like the current economy of Pakistan. And we had like 4 white chairs and a table, and humne target se screens li. We demoed the video games, and then who can guess the next part? I'm sure this one is an easy one, right? And then we returned the screens and got them refunded. This year, thanks predominantly to USAID and with help from Pasha, PSEP, TDAP, we've actually come way back in force. And one of the charms of giving away 500 Ajrak ki shawls on day 1 is that not only do you realize that people love the culture, but everybody was like, where have you guys been? And I think it's very important to be consistent when you do any kind of community effort. And so I'm going to spend the remaining part of this blurb talking about where have we been, right? The important takeaway here is that I think consistency is super key. And what we've done here is a landmark achievement. We've brought 30 game studios here. Everybody who came and talked to us when they heard the facts about the industry, they were very, very surprised. And I think if we do this consistently, we'll be able to generate, this is the sector that's probably going to go explosive. We're working very tightly with the with USAID to see where the long-term investments can come in. And I think it's very important that the expat network actually help leverage what they know to actually help the sector boom. It's one of those things that I always jokingly criticize about Pakistanis versus Indians. Love for both sides of the border, by the way, not a controversial conversation. That I think Indians are so good at helping each other out and making sure that if they have a position of leverage, that they can use it to facilitate people which are doing good work in their country. So this isn't about nepotism, it's about exploring that. But Pakistanis tend to have a very different attitude about these things. They're like, yeah, agar ye bhi aa gaya, तो शायद मैं कम स्पेशल हो जाऊंगा, right? And I think this is just an ecosystem maturity thing that we'll overcome. But without further ado, let's jump into the industry. We at Pasha, with the help of Mindstorm and other studios, have commissioned the first ever State of the Industry report. This is data that even the Saudi government doesn't yet have access to, and I was in their ecosystem talks with Savi, and they were like, wait, you guys have a national report? I'm like, yeah. Why has this happened? A couple of years ago, we finally decided to get over ourselves and start rapidly collaborating. So since then, we found out that there are 200 game studios just in Lahore. We employ 40 to 50,000 people in the domain. The industry generates between $250 million to $500 million, depending on where the money is kept, right? This is a complicated topic of conversation. Some of the bigger studios have gotten acquisition offers from leading giants. There will be no mentions of these studios because it's always a little uncomfortable. We will mention that if they're driving an Audi, you probably found the guy. This is an old in joke, guys. We've been dragging this around for 10 years. But and those studios did not accept the offers. 50 mil, 70 mil, 3-year maturity. There are actually 2 studios. Are the other boys here as well? They're here. I will not name them, but the idea is that we've been turning these offers down because we think that there are better times still to come. In fact, one of the folks, they were like, I understand that we're in the up part of this ecosystem and a recession is coming and there'll be a slump, but on the other side of that slump, there's even a better valuation, right? What is the Pakistani games ecosystem? Fundamentally, we do mobile casual games, which are downstream. I use the word downstream to imply that in the global market, you probably cannot publish a game and get in the charts unless you're earning multiple $1 million a month. And we specialize in publishing games which are between $100K to $1 million. We do scale via volume of products. Some of us have incubated 10 studios within their publishing arm. And together, those 10 games are grossing north of $20 million annually. Pakistan has its own fiscal challenges, and we're overcoming them through innovation and collaboration. Many people, whether it's Google, AppLovin, Tencent, have shown interest in the ecosystem because they think that data-wise, the predictors for the Pakistan ecosystem align really, really well with where Vietnam and Turkey was 3 years ago. This will certainly be an explosion. This will almost certainly be bigger than the IT industry in Pakistan, and I represent kind of both. So I have insights into how the ecosystem is accelerating. One of the reason why I think this will be the case is because it's a predominantly product-driven ecosystem. 90% of Pakistan game companies self-publish their own games. This is an anomaly by any stretch of the imagination, right? 200 plus studios, 180 plus publishers. I like to offer, like, when people are like, what kind of games do you make in Pakistan? And I'm like, mobile, casual, self-published. And they're like, you guys aren't working on like console, PC? I'm like, I am, but I'm like the one-off outlier in this wild lands. And you know what? I've been convinced by Saad to be like, no, I don't work in it, man, make some money. So like, when we got together, we set up training academies together, we started doing reports together, we started helping each other out understand monetization, ad purchase, mediation, all of these things, which is why the results are spiraling. Like, it's hard to say that the 200 of us are friends, but this is the closest thing that you can imagine to that ecosystem. Like, when we throw a dinner, on average, 100 people will show up, and we'll spend 3 hours talking about the state of the industry. I remember Khurram was surrounded last time because we were doing an industry dinner, and the keynotes were separated out amongst everyone. And he got the ad mediation and how to optimize Google ad flows. And like, there were 50 CEOs, right, just surrounding him, be like, what do you know, Khurram? What do you know? So the games ecosystem is 20 plus years old. Babar, Tintash with Snap, Jazibs and Murad, there we go, thank you, Babar. So Murad and Khurram are one of the earliest operators, but now you meet people who come up to you and we're like, you know what, we saw you guys doing it and we went fresh out of college and did games, and I can only hope that this will explode, provided Pakistan doesn't explode first, right? So that's the nutshell. We'll be around here if anybody has questions. Whoever is next, where is Farhan?